Hey everybody, Casey here with Life Abstract Gaming. Today I want to talk music, specifically the music of 2016. This is my personal top 5 list of albums released this year. Now, before we get to the actual list, I want to call attention to a couple of releases this year that I didn't pick for this list, but I still want to get some kind of acknowledgement, whether that be positive or negative. These are my biggest disappointments of 2016. J.Cole's For Your Eyes Only. Yes, J.Cole is a talented MC. Yes, after finally getting into his music following the release of Forest Hills Drive, I was looking forward to this album. But unfortunately, it's just boring. It doesn't matter if he's speaking on real issues or is skilled with bars, the music and his delivery does nothing to hold my attention, so sorry? Kid Cudi's Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying. Now, I am a big fan of Kid Cudi, but this guy's music is very inconsistent. He's constantly jumping back and forth between truly amazing work and truly bizarre projects. Wizard, anybody? Basically, this album was also really boring. Not outright bad, but it really failed to keep me from forgetting I was listening to it and walking away to do something else entirely. Blink 182, California. Now, this album isn't actually bad. It's not really bad at all. But I do think it's a step backwards for this group, who had their lead singer slash guitarist Tom DeLonge quit the band for the second time. This time, though, instead of breaking up altogether, they went and got a replacement for him, who managed, and they all together managed to release an album that takes their sound straight back to the 2000s, which it's not bad music. Blink-182 was one of the biggest bands around in that era. When you compare it, though, to how they evolved their sound on their self-titled album in 2003, then Neighborhoods, once they reunited in 2011, it just doesn't do enough. There was actually a lot of good music released this year, but when you make a list of 5, something's going to get cut. So, on that note, these are my honorable mentions. Drake, Views from the Six. This dude went from being one of my most liked artists to just kind of existing in the background. I actually skipped his last release for no real reason. I just didn't feel compelled to hear it. But I went back to Drake this year, and I have no complaints. Very diverse collection of tracks, and just a good sound and feel all the way through. Childish Gambino, Awaken My Love. This record hit most Gambino fans with mixed emotions. He's a super talented rapper, but this wasn't a rap album. The 2 singles he did release, Me and Your Mama and Redbone, could have tipped us off that this was going to be different, but deep down, at least for me, I just really wanted to hear more rap. With that being said, though, what Awaken My Love is still fantastic. The second single, Redbone, might actually be one of the best songs released this year, period. And the album as a whole is a solid homage to like old school funk, and it adds like a new school twist. So I've really been enjoying it. Frank Ocean, Blonde. I have to be honest, I flat out did not like this album at first. I wanted Frank Ocean to pick up right where his last release, Channel Orange, left off, but Blonde doesn't. It kind of turns the energy down, and all of its sound is sort of understated. There are features from A-list singers on this album like Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar, but to this day, I haven't been able to place their locations on the tracks. I just don't know where they are. But there's definitely something here that every track leaves an impression on you. Nights especially is amazing. It's a standout track that I'm somehow eerily, I feel like I've heard it somewhere before, but as a whole, it's just a beautiful record. Now, let's go for my picks for the top 5 albums of 2016. Number 5, Group Love, Big Mess. Group Love is a band I've only been following for a few years now, but they've been both a breath of fresh air and heavily nostalgic, both at the same time. Big Mess is a solid entry in their catalog. I can't say that it did anything too different from their last 2 records, but the quality of music overall has been so high that I cannot fault them for it. It's just good to listen to. Number 4, The Weeknd, Starboy. In general, I haven't really been a fan of R&B, but The Weeknd has a sound that kind of skirts that line and mixes it with more pop and alternative. This record is just as strong as his last album, Beauty Behind the Madness, so for me it was clear it was going to end up somewhere on this list. Number 3, Chance the Rapper, Coloring Book. This album was highly anticipated. There was so much hype around it that there was a good chance it just wouldn't live up to that, but man, did it ever deliver. Chance took us all to church, and we weren't really mad about it. This came very close to being my number 1 pick, but I can't forgive the pretty bland track Juke Jam featuring Justin Bieber. That really just sticks out and honestly could have been left off entirely without being missed, but everything else is an example of the future of hip-hop. This is the sound that it needs to evolve, and Chance's style and energy is in a great place. I can't wait to see what he does next. Number 2, Tuft, Look, Look. I discovered this band just this year. I heard a cover of a Tom Petty song called Time to Move On by a band called Hi Ho Silver Ho, playing at the end of an episode of a show called Californication. That song stuck with me so strongly, I looked up the band and found out that they changed their name from Hi Ho Silver Ho to Tuft and released their first album back in April of this year. So I took a chance and just bought it because I was just that hooked on hearing more from them. And now I'm convinced I was led to this band by some higher power. Tuft's album is short but incredibly dense. With amazing lyrics, amazing instrumentation. They pull you into this sound, and I still can't go an extended period of time without hearing their music in my head. I am so thoroughly impressed by this band's work so far. I strongly recommend going to check out their single, What I Am Doing. It gives you a sense of the rest of the album, though it's probably the most upbeat song on the record. Number 1, Kanye West, The Life of Pablo. Kanye has been through and done a lot over the last couple of years. There's a lot of people who hate him, but even so, I don't think you can ever legitimately deny this man's talent. The Life of Pablo is an amalgamation of pretty much all of Kanye's previous works into one album. If you haven't liked anything since Late Registration, there's something for you here. If you dug 808s and Heartbreak, there's something for you here. You name an album, and I'll tell you a track here that references an era sonically. This record is a love letter to the Kanye fan. There's literally a skit on it called I Love Kanye. But I'm not going to pretend that I'm not a huge Kanye fan. But some might think I have this as number 1 just for that reason. I assure you that in my honest opinion, Life of Pablo is Kanye's greatest work to date. Ultralight Beam is one of the best songs I've ever heard, period. And the rest of the tracks do not slouch. Waves, FML, Wolves, they're all standout tracks. Kanye's music has been influencing music as a whole for years now. I still hear artists using the voice reverb that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy popularized. Whatever is going on in the life of the man himself, I firmly believe he's managed to release the best album of the year despite it. Alright, please do try to remember, this is all opinion, my opinion. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'm sure some of you do. Tell me why. What does your list look like? Let us know. We're listening.